Hello, hello. I always started the stream right now, and it started with error with the LinkedIn page. So that's why probably I was like freezing face. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. It's literally evening here where I am this time. And even if I make a joke with this kind of start all the time to include all the time zones, it's literally evening right now. And I know my colleagues back in Europe and in South Africa are celebrating a noon-ish kind of thing. We need to have one time someone very early in US. Probably I'll have to invite Nathan to one of these recordings, so we will cover, and Eugene and I'll cover all the time zones. I'm Yana Kiran, engineer manager at Interledger Foundation, and one of the hosts for of the Ledger informal podcast video panel. We still define it because it's not quite a podcast, as we are not curating it afterwards. It's a live discussion with our engineers, and my co-host today, Alex Lakatos. It's very very I don't even know, did you
I
get
I am
tan?
a
Are
I'm
you
a
in a
floating
cave?
I'm a
Which is
floating
the
head, Joanna, because I technically am on holiday. Technically I'm on holiday. Practically I couldn't help myself and I had to join you today. Please do not tell Brianna I did this. I hope she's not watching us because if she finds out I joined work thing in vacation, she's gonna cut off my access to everything work related. Um, and now she
who's
actually
gonna,
has the
can we
ability.
please just someone tell her right now so
No,
we
no, please
have
don't
the
tell Brianna.
CTO out
Please don't tell Brianna.
out of
This is
the
the first time. I'm not saying it's the first time I've done it. This would be the first time I got caught. This is the first time I got
that's true.
caught. Please don't snitch. Please don't snitch. And the other reason I'm a floating head is a floating voice instead of an actual camera human is because I have an addiction. I have a problem, and I couldn't help myself. I really wanted some boba, some bubble tea before this call, and I looked on the map, and I thought I'll make it. And then I made it. I got boba, and then it started raining, and my Uber took about half an hour to pick me up. So I am literally just walking into my hotel, and I'll swap into
I
video mode.
think,
Sounds
But
like
again,
Alex has gone
again.
inside of his tea now.
yeah, yes. You
Okay.
went into a cave situation over there. We heard you really little, but yeah, run into your room, into the house, and we'll catch up with that because I'll introduce our colleagues till then. And because he mentioned the addiction, the boba tea, and being in the evening, I'll come back later to explain the situation because sounds more. But yeah, thank you, Sarah and Max, for joining us. It's your first of the ledger. Did you? I mean, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but did you get a chance to look over the other previous episodes?
I'd say I've watched at least half.
Ooh,
There's a
that's
few.
good. That's good. Okay. Yeah, I know. Also, you gave feedback, so I really really appreciate it. And
I think I
I would
just
say
got
that
myself some to-dos from the documentation one that I watched. I was just chilling, listening, and I was like, oh, okay, I need to get my notes out.
I was like, let me write that down. Yes. Oh, because that happens so often, and going back to explaining why Alex's addiction is important to mention, and we do use lightly the word addiction because it's about the boba tea. But the previous weekend, we were in Singapore for a hackathon where he literally proposed, out of the three that we got from the sponsors, three challenges, he proposed the solution for addiction and a community growing. Um, Funny enough, we had 13 teams out of around 30 something, maybe max 40. But you have to understand that Interledger and open payments is not that common or that known or not that easy versus another team without a technology imposed. So having 13 teams doing an addiction platform while using micropayments, while using community support, and all this was very, very nice. Now we need to see the winners finalizing the project so Alex can start using the platforms for his boba tea addiction that he has. Um,
I
so
feel
yeah,
like I'm not quite there, Joanna. Like in order to, I feel like what I've learned from the hackathon and from the people building addiction apps, in order to solve a problem, you have to acknowledge it's a problem. I'm not there yet. I like Boba and Boba likes me back way too much to recognize that's a problem I want to solve. It's a problem I think I've learned to live with.
I don't think you're gonna, yeah, you're not gonna fix this issue, but it's fine. We accepted it. Let's call it. We accepted it. Um, but nevertheless, if you have any addiction, please grab support. Okay, going on the serious side, Sarah, tell us a bit about your career because you did change even in Interledger the roles you had, and how has this changed for you? Are you missing the previous role? I think people were nice.
Yes and no. Um, for me, my journey in this space, basically, I started working at Coil, which was one of the founders of the Interledger protocol, had a company using web monetization, and so I started there working on the plugin for the WordPress plugin for web monetization, so people could uh, get monetization going for their blogs. And after that, I moved across to Interledger, which was a very nice jump. I feel like I've been very fortunate to be in this space because it's been such a positive environment always and an exciting space as well. So I joined on the Rafiki team, so working on specifically the admin UI. So that's the admin portal for people who want to come and have a look. So this would be for account servicing providers accessing their system. And yeah, then just a couple of months ago now, I moved over to front-end development. So now I'm working on maintaining the doc site and the website. Which yeah, I am enjoying, but I do also miss Rafiki, so a bit of both.
And now
Can
you
always
get.
you can, there's always work. You can
Work
please
is
join.
not in
Oh
short
yes.
supply, thank you.
I was about to. Like, it's always going back and forth. It's. I hear myself. And that was funny part with working now in engineer. Let me close Alex one. Is that you get work, like you said, from the other pages, like other of the ledger and the docs. Let me try to fix this issue. Max, so are you missing Sarah?
Of course, yeah. We yeah, it was great having. I mean, of course, it's Sarah's. Always, we're always talking, especially about open payments, and but yeah, it's always
Yeah,
great with Sarah on our team full time. But there's
yeah.
work across the org front end wise, so it makes sense.
Well, I always
Thanks.
appreciate your lengthy answers to my millions of questions.
Oh, I do remember when Sarah started switching. She was like, "But I still want to fix this," or I still, and I was like, and I was like, "It's the best part is that we are an open source company. We do work cross teams sometimes, and if it's a big Herup, or how it's called, like, big effort to be done for one of the projects, everyone steps in. And so I guess Sarah will trick and go back to some of them, and she still does the most amazing advocacy work for open payments right there. So I still feel like she's very, very attached to that work, and I'm
Sarah,
more than
there's
happy
actually
to support this. Go
there's
ahead.
actually a lot of push from the community for you to go full circle and give some love and attention to the WordPress plugin. I think Erica Hargreave, if she's on the podcast, I think every weaponization call I've been on with her has strongly encouraged us, and Adam as well, strongly encouraged us to update the WordPress plugin to support weaponization, to put it out into the world again under the Interledger brand, to revive the old plugin. So if you feel nostalgic and you kind of want to go back to WordPress, if you say no, that's also fine. It's also fine. I've done WordPress in the past, and there's no. I think there's no peer pressure or social pressure or belief I will do good in the world that was gonna convince me I'm gonna code WordPress again. I understand. But if you would like to do some WordPress, if you feel bored with or Drupal website or the documentation websites, and you feel like you want something new, we can look at going back to WordPress because in all seriousness, webization is going live into this world. I know there's various degrees of live with us. We're going live into this world as soon as the team finishes putting the last finishing touches on the extension. Um,
It's very
and
close.
I
It's
do
very
think it's
close.
very close. It's very close, incredibly close. But I do think the WordPress plugin, releasing a new version of the WordPress plugin to support weaponization fully, is a good idea. Especially since the old one is still being used. It's marked as deprecated, but you built it so well, it still works today, as long as you
Oh,
don't get
thanks.
worried about the deprecated labels. And some people, not only have they been using the deprecated one, they've also instructed other people. They're like this install guides in that they say just ignore the deprecated label and put
But
it
I
in, it
mean, this is
works.
the whole point of standards, right? Is that even though there have been changes to the standard from a website perspective, there's not really changes. So, that basic infrastructure that we did back in 2021 is still carrying through today.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very happy when we did update the standard. We tried really hard not to break backwards compatibility. Good to see. It's good to see we've managed to keep it going.
Yes. And okay, I will say like I'm fine that you mentioned to Sarah new work live in a broadcast, but it's fine. At
It's it's
least
what it's what happens in the software ledger. At least this time I mentioned it for Sarah while she was here. Other podcasts I've mentioned new work for people that weren't here and they had to learn it. I mean, Sarah could at least say no. Other people just didn't have a voice on the podcast to say no while it was happening. It's always gonna
yes,
happen. I'm not even gonna
yes.
apologize for it.
Yeah, no, good, good. The cherry on top. We have a caveman in the call and also give you more work. No, jokes aside. Max, how about yourself? Let's hear a bit about your journey.
So I was at a Canadian fintech. We were building like a credit card processor. It was typical kind of bank stuff where, yeah, hook it up with Mastercard and make it work. And I was there for a couple of years, and then my friends who actually been really early in the community in the grant for the web days, and they showed me Interledger, and I said, "Wow, this is really really cool and open, and it's a really nice community." And just as I was, yeah, looking for something new, moving to Europe, to the Netherlands, and yeah, and then had a nice chat with Alex, and yeah, he was got off to a good start, I hope. And yeah, we have been at the Interledger for, yeah, more than 2 years now, and it's been awesome to see the team growing and the community growing, and you're working with everyone on the call here, especially too. Yeah.
I'm actually curious. How are you counting this, Max? From the day you signed the paperwork or from your first day at work? Because that's a really long period.
And now we know, and now we also
Yeah.
want to know.
Yeah, you
Uh,
were the most awaited engineer at the foundation in 3.5 years.
Not me.
So Max, we talked to Max, and we really, really, really liked Max. And then Max told us he needed a little break. Couple of months, I think maybe 2 or 3 months. 2 or 3 months. He had a little break in between jobs, and we liked him enough to let him do that. I think we signed in July, and he started in October, somewhere around that. Somewhere around that. I need to look in our system to see when his anniversary actually is. I think the anniversary might say October because that was his first day. But he knew he was joining us, and we knew he was joining us for a really long time. A
So
long time.
just patience for great things. It is.
Exactly.
Every time I threaten you with a basement, Max, I just think about that. I think about that. Every time I threaten you with a basement, Max likes Romania. Max likes Romania so much. He has a little piece of Romania with him at home. Romania likes him back. Max, where's your piece of Romania? Is it
I have
handy around?
I do have it. I do have it. This is a piece of Romania. Um, I have. I actually have another one. It's not Romania, but from. I started a collection with one of our team members, Kozmin, who gave me a warning bad dog sign. So yeah, I'm having a short, let's say, a little collection growing of pieces of Romania. So
I see
yeah,
you're keeping it in mint condition, so that's
yeah,
good.
yes,
Perfect. Yeah.
Imagine the resale value 20, 30 years from now.
exactly.
No, the reason Max has that is because Max learned Romanian by himself
Learn
mostly.
Romanian. Yeah.
By himself.
Yeah.
He was starting his self-taught journey of Romanian. Every morning while we're going to the office, there was a sign on the gate that says, "Please do not park here," or in Romanian, "Nu parcați." And Max insisted on reading the park sign every morning,
Yeah.
to the
You
delight
have
of every Romanian attending.
you have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Start small.
Usually,
Honestly,
usually
I don't
people
think
start
when
with usually people start with mulțumesc, but I think all engineers have a different journey into
yes.
Romanian. Max with nu parcați, Tadeu with Doamne ajută, which means God help us all.
A way of thoughts and prayers. But Max literally learned the language from the street, which probably people think is like, you learn the gang bang and stuff. But no, it's like the polite way, like, don't park here.
Yeah.
Or the dog one, be careful, bad dog. Yes,
Very practical
yeah.
Romanian, Max. Very practical Romanian.
But we need to learn now or to find some of these situation cards or how it's called signs that we could also use in code reviews, like attentive cleaner, beware bad dog is like this was a bad thing, not okay, Mr. Engineer, lady engineer, like the reviews is like we need to find. I'll make it a challenge for. But going on a serious note, Max, you kind of changed a bit your role too in the last couple of months, or even more. I think like half a year now.
Yes. Start off as technically a TypeScript developer, but I think with all these engineering and software engineering titles, it means really different things on every different company. But now, and technical lead of Rafiki. So yeah, lots of managing, planning, organizing, and really, really enjoyed.
Good, good. I'm happy to hear that. Alex, take a note there. Max is still happy leading the team. And not missing that much.
Honestly, I was worried. I didn't like it when I transitioned into doing all this managing and planning and things. Really happy to hear that you like that. And
Yes.
as usual, you are one of the many victims of your own success. Here at Interledger, we have a few victims of their own success. Sarah and Max being prime candidates of it. If you like it, we'll find more for you to do. Don't worry.
Just say no. Just say no. This is gonna happen. Always pushing work in the live videos. No, don't. Just say no.
I hear Jona's looking for another engineering manager in her team. If you'd like to explore working with Jona more closely rather than Tade, we can look at that as well.
I mean, I can say because Tadej is not here. Hopefully, he's not watching. It's more fun in this team. Just saying. And definitely, I know more Romanian than Doamne ajută, so just saying. Your pool of learning languages. Yeah, but learning languages should be a point for me there. So which of you want to break the ice with open payments? Because I'm not sure if I should even ask maybe Alex with the history of it, when it really started as an idea or a need, or let the more how to say, official definition from the team side or like setup, because she presented a lot on the topic, or Max as lead now for work around there. So who's gonna break? I'll let you choose. Let's see who's gonna have to work on it. Quote, quote, work.
Well, I'm happy to break the ice, but then I would like to hear the origin story because I don't know the origin story. But basically, what open payments is that it allows third parties to get direct access to their users' accounts. So what that means is, for instance, if you have an e-commerce store online, instead of needing to go via a payment processor, you could actually make code calls directly to your user's account. So no middlemen required. That would be the short answer. But I'd love to know where it started.
Alex, do you have this info from
This,
back in the
yes,
day?
yes, yes, it does. I am largely responsible for open payments because I was lazy. So initially, this was supposed to be a wallet discoverability API. Back when Max was the first developer at Interledger, the first developer at Interledger, Interledger was supposed to stay a small team, and somehow the tech team at least was supposed to stay a small team, and somehow we're at 42 now, and that's kind of hard to believe. But back when Max was the only developer, the first, there was supposed to be a wallet discoverability APIs to allow you to recognize another wallet on the network. Right now, if you are a wallet on the network, you don't know which wallets are on the network. You know who your peers are, and that's it. But in order to do this discoverability API, we had to maintain a mediator domain. So we had to have a central point of infrastructure that would be responsible for discoverability, network mapping, and pinging it back into the wallet network, in the Interledger network, which one was a lot of work, a lot of work. And I don't think we could manage that with a very small team. And the second thing, not only was it a lot of work, but it would kind of break the decentralized aspect of Interledger. We had now a central point of infrastructure that could disrupt the network in a serious way. Technically, peering still worked, but if you were trying to do any API-based call on Interledger, then if the mediator domain was down, that wouldn't work. So we took that wallet discovery API, which was called Open Payments, and we redid it in a way that made sense in a decentralized fashion. So now, and that meant back then, Open Payments was an idea on a not even on a piece of paper on a website. There was an idea on a website. I think the Internet Archive still has an early version of that website. And we took that and we figured out a way to make the Open Payments and API decentralized, probably the first decentralized API that actually works. Technically, open banking was a good idea that was supposed to be decentralized, but a very poor execution in such a way that is not really decentralized. But we turned it into an API that can be called to any domain, on any domain that implements it. And that also meant we had to implement it ourselves. When we started this, Rafiki wasn't supposed to have open payments in it. Rafiki was supposed to just have the Interledger connector, connect that with the admin API into some sort of core banking system, and that was it. It was supposed to be just Interledger at the bottom, and then some sort of payment brain in between, and that was about it. If you wanted or didn't want to implement open payments, you had to put that in front of your core banking API, implement it yourself, kind of like what open banking did. And then we realized if we went the same route as open banking, even though the API was much smaller than open payments, than open banking, the chances of implementers getting it wrong was technically lower, but not zero. We decided to put that in Rafiki and expand the scope of what Rafiki does for the IntelliJ ecosystem. So now you have the IntelliJ connector at the bottom, the payment brain in the middle, and an open payment API exposed at the top, and all of those feed back into the core banking system. So we basically made Rafiki a two-way system instead of a one-way system. But yeah, that's how we ended up with open payments in trying to do less work. I don't think it resulted in less work. I think it resulted in a lot more work for a lot more people. Now we have to document that. Now we have Sarah has to create documentation websites not only for Interledger but for the whole Interledger ecosystem. Now we have to do SDKs and a bunch of things to make it easier to work with that Open Payment is API. We have to be very careful not to break it. And every time Max has a new idea of what Open Payments could do, I have to go, no, we're not breaking this. It stays this way. Figure out a
Right.
way to do it this way, because now we have it out into the world and it's implemented in quite a few of the wallets. I heard
Next,
Chiman
whenever
turned
you
on that
want to propose
implementation.
something, come live. He cannot say no easy, you know? It's
Well,
just
there's
saying.
if we get to what's future plans, maybe maybe Alex can
Ooh, let's jump in
next.
there.
Yeah, but no, everything's perfectly backwards compatible. Of course.
Also, when Alex was describing how it started and how it meant to be different implementation in the end, I'm like, I'm thinking to do an off the ledger episode only with what was supposed to be, what ended to be, and all the stories in between the. Well, we decided, let's do a bit more. We're a bit lazy and we changed that. So it's gonna be a fun one, I guess, if I take notes from all the.
All of this is is in the Interledger DNA. I don't think it's a factor of
Yeah.
me being here. I think we need to call Stefan and Evan on one of these calls and ask them what happened to the shortest lived Interledgers in history, Interledger version 2 and 3, the ones that are never mentioned because they've lived so little. The Interledger version 2 and 3 were so short lived, nobody got the chance to update the documentation to even make them public. So I think we're good. I think this is part of Interledger, the ability to adapt, to find a better way, and
Yeah.
to somehow make it easier for us in the process.
I'm learning something new every day. That's a good thing. And for those watching, I did link there, and we are putting in the notes the Interledger Universe article our colleagues have been wrote, especially because we were talking now about layers and on top, and that article has a really nice description on the layers, especially the comparison with the other protocol. And Alex, in the explanation there, you were mentioning a bit of this. It should have been the other one should have been decentralized. It is not. We made it open payments. Would you say that the decentralization is the most important factor, as in innovative for the inclusion and financial inclusion and the broader web ecosystem, or you see even more things around?
So
And
I
this is
think
open
that
for everyone.
I think that the thing that for me makes open payments very important in the world of payments is today, if you want to process payments on traditional payment rails, you have to get access to the API via the bank. So you have to go to the bank, the API is closed, and then you have to go through a whole KYB process in order to do this. Some of the banks don't even do any of this because it's expensive for them to manage the KYB process. Um, some of the startups or developers out there, it's impossible for them to get access. There's so many hurdles. And I think open payments allows you to go to ask for access to the ultimate owner of that resource, of that money. That's not the bank, that's the user. So the fact that open payments lets you go and ask this question of the user gives you a fighting chance of building solutions, open solutions with payments.
It's a good point there. Max, Sarah, anything you want to add from your perspective of or on leverage the financial inclusion with open payment?
Well,
I
I do
think.
think.
Oh, go ahead. Go
Go
ahead.
for it, Max.
No, no, go for it.
I was just going to say that, you always talk about the developer's perspective, but I think it's also the user's perspective, and part of being in control of your own finances in your own account is actually having the right to say who has access to that and who doesn't, and having control over what that access looks like, which is not something that you easily get otherwise. So it's always through some other entity like a bank, and who they deem acceptable or not. But yeah, in terms of accessibility, because this is a standard and it's not tied to a currency or a platform, it also means that it opens it up to be used in vastly different contexts. So it's not kind of only limited to credit card payments, but it could extend beyond that to different kinds of payment platforms as well.
Yeah, I think totally that, especially that last one where you don't need yeah, like payment gateway. You don't need like several, like a Stripe, like all these, card networks in between. I'm just talking to from A to B, right? That's the idea, and I think that's kind of a powerful concept in terms of interoperability, and yeah, I think it just makes for I think that also the API itself, of course, it has some. We need guide and great documentation, but there's not a lot of, like, when you look at it, there's only a few resources, and you're not overwhelmed. Okay, how do I make all these different requests? It's pretty. Yeah, I think it's not such a huge API, but can do a lot of things at the same time.
Speaking of which, Max, very good segue into something we learned this weekend in Singapore, and that's gonna result. I've had ideas, and it's sadly gonna result in more work for everyone. So one of the things we've noticed in Singapore was that people were getting the grant. You see that grant screen in the IDP, you hit accept, and nobody was finishing the payment. Nobody was doing the outgoing payment because everybody thought that was actually moving the money. So not only do we need to improve the screen on the test wallet a little bit, and Timam might be on holiday, and after she comes back from holiday, I hope she's gonna watch the episode and find out we need to change the test wallet IDP to make sure it says the money isn't actually moving yet. But the other thing is, I was looking at the handshake we do of incoming payment, quote, outgoing payment, and I started playing around. I know I haven't coded since Max told me to stop coding, which was almost a year ago. But I've written some code over the weekend, which will sadly have to be reviewed, maintained, and probably rewritten. If I'm being honest, probably be rewritten for the SDK. But it allows you to do pay and pay continue, where you do the dancing for the user, and then with the grant continuation, it allows you to finish the interaction. So instead of having to call 3 APIs, it allows you to call just two methods. The other thing is, we've noticed that a bunch of the people didn't know how to handle the IDP interaction ref, and we might need to put something in there in the SDK or some examples in documentation. This might be a Melissa piece of work. Melissa's gonna love me. She was here last month, but we noticed people didn't understand what the interaction ref was and how to handle the interaction ref. So we might want to help them handling the interaction ref on the ground.
And if we're talking about grant interaction and redirection, who's exactly to explain a bit to our audience how open payments work? Thanks for the intro, Alex.
Do we want to do a quick demo and then see how it?
I think it's the best. And honestly, if it's either the demo or we go back to some slides. I have, based on Sabine's designs, and I think also Sarah improved them. So let's do a demo because it's easier, yeah.
Sounds good.
And Alex, till Max is starting, we were chatting before you joined, or we were waiting, and mentioning the differences in the hackathon, being with Mentor full time on there, or, someone tapping on the shoulder saying, like, this is not yet done, and the whole context on learning new perspective, yes. A bit of work on the documentation there and on our side of examples.
I think I'm sure the Interledger wallet has been on a few of the off the ledger, but it's good, to keep coming back to it. People are getting familiar with it. So I will make a payment on the boutique. I'll make one payment, and then from there I'll grab some Excalibur because I love Excalibur, and then do some demo, do a little bit of showing what's happening under the hood. So I'll take my copy my payment pointer, wallet address, and if I go to the boutique, our beloved boutique, and buy some courage for the demo, and then go to hit checkout, and then paste my, as you can see, it as the payment pointer. So right, I'm pasting the payment pointer. Really, that's also the nice part about this, what Sarah was saying about the user experience, right? So in terms of grants, it's great to see that you can like see exactly what's being taken into account, but also it's just easy to share this, and it's easy to get a wallet address around, and I think that's also just a nicer way than somebody asking me, or in Europe, or oh, send me your IBAN, and with like 12 or 16 digits, or it's a completely different user experience, I think. And then when you pay with Interledger, right, I'm here on the wallet. I'm back to the wallet, and Boutique is saying, please authorize on behalf of Boutique that we can take out $20. I hit accept, and the payment is done, right? So user wise, it's really how it should be. I didn't enter any like card details. I didn't enter my IBAN. Make sure I got all the numbers right. It's pretty straightforward from the user side. And to kind of set up what's happening here, you can see I made the payment, but I'm going to give a quick just setup. It's going to be pretty high level, but right, we have our user. This is me, and when I'm shopping,
Looking good. Looking great
yeah,
there, Max.
it really, yeah, uh, looking very excited and not a gray blob.
Let's spend some money. Exactly. It's like,
And so if we go back to the boutique, so right, I'm sitting on the site. Boutique is obviously running an open payments client that knows how to talk to the open payments. The boutique itself, it's a merchant, right? It's receiving funds. All the payments are incoming. Like whenever somebody's buying a product, all the payments are incoming. So I'll again go to add to cart, and here when I go to checkout, and at this point the boutique already knows that there's going to be some sort of incoming amount, right, for $20. So I'm going to just slide this here, right? The test wallet, or in the merchant, it also has an open
right.
payment account. In this case, it was the boutique wallet address, and at this point, boutique can just say, okay, great, let's make a payment for set up an incoming payment for $20. That's the kind of the first step of this. I plug in my payment pointer, and then here you could see, right, we're back on the wallet.
Wallet.
And what's happening is boutique under the hood saying, oh, you've entered the wallet address, right? So it went to this open payment server, and then essentially at some point claimant's client, okay, great, I want to make an outgoing payment on your account. So but to do that, I need access on behalf of the user. So what happened was it asked to make a grant, right? This is what we're just talking about, to make a grant. The user was redirected from the auth server to the identity provider, and that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing this kind of 20. Now, and right, this is kind of where the flexibility part of the grant comes in, right? This is kind of better than I can confirm if it's for $20. I see exactly what's happening to my account, and I'm at the user identity provider. I see that this is taken. I'm okay with this. All makes sense. I'm on my wallet. I'm seeing the identity provider, and then at some point, once I hit accept, I just get redirected back to the client, and this is what we're talking about from the hackathon. It might be nice to give some more feedback exactly how the client is doing this kind of setup. But essentially, that was really it. So you kind of through the auth server, through open payments, the user is directed to any provider, they accepted, and then they're back on the site. So I think, yeah, in terms of there's a few steps obviously going on in the background, but that's essentially what's happening. Yeah.
I love the arrows going back and forth.
Yes.
I
lots of
actually
errors.
also wanted to say with those arrows, that's exactly what is one of the really nice things about open payments, is that all of the interactions and the relationships are occurring exactly where they should. There's no one in the middle. It's like the direct communication can actually be in place. So when, that Interledger boutique wants to get money from the user's account, they speak directly to that account provider. When that account provider says, okay, well, someone wants to take money out of your account, that relationship between the account provider and the user who owns that account, there's no one in between that. That's just between them and their account provider, and that stays, perfectly intact. And that's who they should be getting permission from before getting that money out. So it means that not only is the user always aware of what's happening and there's that kind of transparency, but like the map of relationships is really clean and exactly the way it should be, without anything confusing happening, without anything getting in the middle, without kind of relaying trust to a different party. It's like everything maps cleanly, which I really like.
Exactly.
Really great point.
I
Really
think
great point. Go ahead, Max.
the final, well, in the end, when you do make the payment, um, there is an assumption in open payments that there's like some shared, let's say, payment rails between the two wallets. In this case, everything's boutique and the user are all on the same wallet, but that's where kind of the power of ILP comes in, where they're able to talk to each other. So open payments set up all this stuff, and then all the banks need to do, or digital wallets, they just need to make that actual payment between themselves without the user needing to know how it happens. Happens kind of for the user, yeah, simply and as it should. So that's the setup.
I think
Another to mention.
one of the other things I like about this is if I did the same with, I don't know, let's say cards, I couldn't really give my card details to another human being because knowing those details, you could use them without my permission. With open payments, all I'm giving you is an address. That address can be public. All the internet can know. There's nothing you can do. Just knowing your address does not allow people to show ownership of a resource. Whereas knowing those card numbers in the address, those numbers on a card, practically gives you ownership. If you have those numbers, you don't need the physical card to get to the money on the card, which I think makes it a lot more secure. With IBAN, you could make the same argument with IBAN and the bank, the name and everything. Who ever has recited those details by heart? I can tell you my payment pointer right now. It's ilp.dev/000. Much easier to remember. Again, if you are a wallet, I think we're going to name and shame. If you are a wallet, certain blue wallet in our network, it starts with gate and ends with hub, and you've put your payment pointer, a giant ass string of characters, I will not be able to remember it. Hence why I didn't tell everyone my GitHub wallet address. I have a GitHub wallet address, but for the purposes of getting money, being paid, I only
Easy,
choose
fast. Yeah.
the one that I can remember. So that means now for me, my default wallet or my preferred wallet, even though I have multiple wallet accounts, is always going to be the Interledger wallet because it's the fastest one to spell out and the one I cannot actually remember. Same way you
True.
have a preferred payment method. I know I like Monzo Bank because the user experience is much nicer. I have probably five bank accounts in five banks, and I always use Monzo because I like the experience better. It's going to be the same with Interledger wallets. You're going to use the one that makes it easier for you to remember how to get paid.
True.
And
True,
I
true,
don't
true.
know honestly much about IBAN numbers, but with wallet addresses, there's always a lot of configurability as well. Like you could have multiple different wallet addresses all pointing back to the same account. So for users who care about additional privacy or kind of divvying up, tracking what payments are made for certain purposes or whatever the case is, it just creates, a lot of really great use cases from that, which, we have seen in some of the hackathon challenges and stuff like that as well.
So technically, you could do something like that with IBANs, but practically, because there's a limited number of IBANs you can have in the world, because they're all so IBAN works on a notation convention. So you go country code, bank code, followed by 7 numbers. It's not like you can have those 7 numbers. Those 7 numbers or 8 numbers or 9 numbers, whatever, give you a limited amount of users, much less than you have. So you won't give a single user 2, 3, 10 IBAN because you're going to run out of IBAN, and then you have to register a new bank to get a new address pool. And while some banks have multiple address pools, it's not cheap to register an address pool, and they don't have it because they really wanted the second one. They have it because they ran out in the first one, and now they have a second address pool. So the only way you could have multiple IBANs with the same bank is if you have multiple bank accounts with multiple currencies. So my euro account at let's say Monzo and my pound account at Monzo all come with different IBANs. If I ask them very nicely, the UI doesn't show you an IBAN. Somebody has to go into their system and manually generate an IBAN, and you'll get it in the mail. But technically, I do have IBANs. And so they've made it hard, one, because there's no value for them to be interoperable with the IBAN standard. They follow the UK standard. And two, even when they do, even for the limited number of customers, they didn't bother putting that in the UI. It's such a few number of people use it. It wasn't worth it for them to put it in the UI.
I love this, learning so much about banking and the differences and appreciating the simplicity of our part, and thoughts and prayers that more people adopt it or use it, and it makes it really a change. And if you remember, well, if not, go on YouTube or social media and see the December episode, I think, where we talked about the cards, and everyone was sharing their number of the cards. And I remember at the summit when we were again just sharing the ending numbers to get demos and getting money for coffee. So a very, very cute usage advantage
See how
there.
I slipped 000 in there? Joanna, why haven't you mentioned 21 so far? I think everybody knows
Yeah,
about 21.
I just made you mention it. Yes, if you have an Interledger card, if you want to use, Alex is 000, but he has too much money. Don't even bother. We'll be like, leave it. It's fine. Don't bother him with notifications in his wallet. Um, But yeah, I wanted to go back a bit when I think Max also mentioned the Interledger protocol, and I was thinking if we want to mention a bit how we leverage the Interledger protocol and what are the key advantages of this approach. I know you already mentioned a few, but if it's anything else you want to add on that side.
I just wanted to, yeah. So whenever you're creating a income payment, at the end of the day, you need some sort of shared payment. Let's say Rails, right? So, of course, in our case, it is ILP because it's the easiest to, as part of the community to run Rafiki, and then you have everything. You have ILP, you have open payments. But I think what also is cool about open payments is that it's really flexible in how we can pay people. So in our case, when you create an incoming payment, you get some interledger details, ILP details, and then the open payments really consist of having a wide network of people running open payments. But at some point, money has to move somehow, right? And by using Interledger, where you can have a wide network of institutions or digital wallets running their own ILP connector, whether that's their own connector or Rafiki, you can start to have these payments go A to B, but across this wide array of all a wide array of institutions, and it all kind of works together. And and still, right, you're being able to route payments from from different countries, different wallets, different banks, all in this network. And I think that's really powerful without needing to build custom solutions to actually move money between different banks. So I think Interledger and Open Payments, like Interledger in Open Payments, is a really nice fit for getting everyone connected. But again, it's also agnostic, so people can go off and build different own payment methods in Open Payments if they want. Like we could have we're talking about IBAN, we could have a SEPA payment method, and it still fits within the framework of Open Payments. So it's built in a way that's, of course, best paired with Interledger, but again, you can go off and build your own rails. So I think it's very cool in that sense.
And I think the first stories that I heard when I joined Interledger was that it's not also like when monetization is just one implementation on top of it, and anyone can build its own usage. Not even it has to be us doing it, or has to be us providing it. That's now that we mentioned using by others, how do we make it compliance with all the regulations, with jurisdictions? Are we putting on the wallet only? Are we doing something more on our side? Any security measures? I know for sure Alex mentioned a lot, and I guess you got at least 100 new views on the blog post for the security audits on Rafiki during the weekend, because we did get a lot of questions about how we do that. So we went back to the Rafiki audit blog post. But let's share a bit more on that side.
In terms of, I can answer maybe.
Yeah.
Sarah and Alex can add, but it really comes down to the agreements between the different institutions, right? That's where, when the actual money movement happens, there's so many different ways that you can set up those relationships, and Open Payments doesn't imply how that data is shared, because a lot of times it's just either if you're paying between wallet addresses or user accounts in the same bank, they can just, as long as there's user authorization, they move the money on their ledger. There's no KYC needed. There's, there isn't a KYC exchange needed across different institutions. But if there is, then it's really up to them and their agreement on how that happens. And of course, there's things that we're considering building, if the time comes, into Open Payments or into Interledger to actually make that easier for institutions. But for now, a lot of it's really context-specific information. So I don't know if anybody wants to add to that.
No.
No. Okay.
So serious. I did relink the blog post. Yeah, I know that Sarah has to leave like in 2-3 minutes, and maybe it's now a good time to just promote the YouTube playlist that she has organized and run, and 2-3 links from the meetup she presented. I did want to give her a big shout out online in this call, and it does help a lot for the new people onboarding to go over someone explaining it, demoing. Max, if you want to start doing a demo too. Yeah.
Max also does a whole walk through the code as part of that tutorial as well. You can really deep dive all the way.
You caught me there. I forgot about that. Keep saying Sarah because I keep going back to her for help. I mean, help. I did ask her to go to some meetups, and she nicely said yes. Max, are we gonna hear you at the meetup soon too?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, maybe.
And doing some diving into the client is always fun to show how to build those things. Do you want to share the playlist to start? The YouTube playlist?
I will prepare. I will get it ready to go over it. And Sarah, big thank you for being with us today. We're gonna
Thank you
stay
so much
just
for
a bit
having me.
more to cover some more stuff. And anytime Sarah is also on our community Slack, or if not, reach out to me and I'll share all the links that she and Max created or everyone else shared.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
See you in a
Sure.
bit.
Bye.
Are we going to the tough section now with the future plans? I did already.
You and I don't want to cut this short, but you do understand you're the only thing staying between me and Boba, right? Like I went all the way to town and I got Boba and I got Boba and I got Boba and I haven't had Boba. As you can see, there's no Boba in my hands. Out of respect for everybody, bad enough I have to have an addiction and I don't need to show it to everyone else. Uh, please, more questions for us. We love questions.
Let's hear the future plans for open payments then.
I can go quick. So yeah, we have our community calls every Wednesday at time zone 1 UTC, I think. We double check always. I need to do the math, but and we have some great feedback and great discussions on there about especially from web monetization as they're building, right? That's how can we support this use case, and then we have just questions from integrators, questions from people using the client, and so in terms of some next features, some things that we've been discussing are being able to. Right now, it isn't the I think easiest way to figure out how much you have remaining on a grant. So if you know, like web monetization, it says, oh, you accepted maybe $100 for the month to be taken out. You always see that updated counter. And web monetization, the team that built it, they're doing a lot of stuff under the hood to make sure that number is accurate. But that seems like there's stuff that, of course, if you're running open payments, we know exactly how much you can still spend on the grant, and we're going to be adding something to help that make it easier for Webmon or anybody, all other clients to actually get that value.
I want to be perfectly clear, Max. You might hate the weaponization team a bit more. This is just step one, because we realized you couldn't reuse the grant on a different device. So you technically had to issue a new budget on every device because you couldn't keep track of the grant and how much you had left on it. But if you keep the amount on the grant, that is step one on being able to reuse the grant, if we manage to synchronize the keys across devices so that you will have a single budget for all of your weaponization needs. I looked at the API. I don't think it's going to work out if you only keep track of the grants. So the weaponization team, after you give them that update to keep track of the money spent to the grant, we'll have a bunch of other feature requests because we want to build that into weaponization where you can reuse the budget across multiple devices.
Yeah, and I think that for that one, just having a nice API call just to get that information is already a start. So we can think about more plans later as well.
That's Max's way of politely saying, no, Alex, go away.
I like it. He never promised on, it's like very, very. This is
We're
like
working together for
negotiation.
a
The
couple
high
of
never,
years,
never promised. Exactly, yeah. But
You spent
on the
you
same note,
spent
the
too much
team
time
was
with me.
like, "Oh, we need to fix this. I'm not sure if the team has." It was like, "Let's go and negotiate a bit with Max the priorities for this." I remember Sid and Daria was like, "Yeah, but it's open payment. Max is not biting. You can talk with him. You can maybe he can reprioritizing it." Just to acknowledge, you can see Max's face. He's like, "This is not a joke. You're not funny."
No, I mean that is
We're
an interesting.
laughing. We're laughing. What else are you working on, Max?
Something else that is interesting, and I think would be quite a nice feature to have, is the ability just to request kind of a sign in with open payments because right now, some cases you just need to make sure that the user has the correct account and like saying that it is who they are, but you have to right now create a $0 payment basically to go through that flow accepting an identity provider. And so there's within the GNAP spec itself, there's ways to you can just ask, is this the correct resource owner, is this correct user, and then get information and make it so that the user can sign in with open payments. It's kind of a built-in identity feature within open payments.
So this is another feature request from the weaponization tools. This time not from the extension tool, but from the weaponization tools, which we're calling publisher tools now, from the publisher tools team, that they needed this. And I think it goes to show the fact that we're dog fooding our own API and we're building things in open payments allows us to learn and then go fix it. The fact that we even keep quite a good separation between who's building open payments and who's building on open payments to give those people a fresh perspective. I feel like otherwise we might be biased. If the people who built open payments were the people who built with open payments, we might be a bit biased to figure out workarounds or to know exactly how things work. The fact that we take these APIs out into the world, into in this case, close to our heart, another team at Interledger, or another couple of teams at Interledger, or the hackathons like we did last
I was,
weekend
yeah.
in Singapore, helps us learn a lot and improve. So we'll always be improving on open payments. The more people are going to use it, the more they're going to change.
You should have seen Alex in the judging part at the hackathon when he was like, "So, how did you feel working with the documentation?" And most of the participants were students, not all of them, but most, and they were like trying to be nice to us. It was good, it was good. And I was like, be honest, like we all know the meme, be honest. And they were like, well, it was very hard on that side, or oh, that was sad. And we were telling them, literally, gave us feedback. We really want to improve it. We really want to make it accessible for everybody, or not even more accessible in terms of reachable, but understandable and easy to track. One of the things I always hated, it's a strong word and I know it, is when you start learning something on your own and they say like, these 3 steps and you're done. And 3 hours later, you're still at the second and it's like, it's not the same screenshot for me. It's not the same step. And it's like, something is not working. Just because no one tested really those documentation in real life. And it's not working on my machine. Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially having hackathons is super valuable, having people try, because as people who are building and thinking about it, we have such a different perspective and biased perspective that we can't just build it from that. We need people just using it and trying it and telling us, no, this doesn't make sense. So
Yeah. Any other spiciness behind the doors? I mean, everyone, it's open source. Even if you want a Max event to work something, just go and they do a really good job on having everything in the open.
I think having more, and this is across the whole tech team, but having just SDKs and different languages, probably especially for somebody who Python, and then right now it's only our TypeScript JS SDK, and now it's not only have to learn this language, so I think having
The weekend was fruitful. Let's call it.
We forgot
Go ahead,
to
Alex.
tell you something. We forgot to tell you something. This weekend in Singapore, a very good friend of mine in Jonas, Joanna happens to live with him, came to Singapore, Singapore because he was on holiday and he didn't want to be left alone in the house. And instead of, letting him enjoy his holiday, we took him to the hackathon, put him in a corner, gave him some snacks, and at the end of the day, he has a big chunk of a Python SDK all up and in a GitHub repo. He sent me the repo somewhere, and I forgot. I forgot
I
where I
mean, you're
put
on
it, but
vacation.
yeah, I'm
I'll do
also on
that.
vacation. But Joanna should send you a report that needs reviewing,
We
a
will
little bit of
update.
reviewing.
But jokes aside, yes, it was a big improvement there. And for the rest of the people, we do have an open Slack channel on the community channel for Open Payments SDKs. So if you want to build or want to propose one, do join and let us know. We have part of our team that works on there, like a lot of our colleagues promise, or they were nice enough to say, I think I can do this SDK, and we'll see how happens in a few months what happens. And we had also a community member that wanted to start on Python, but I think he got stuck. So now we have a bit chunk of it running, and I think we also have a list of the remaining to dos. For example, GNAP was not implemented there, and we didn't get the chance to talk today about it, but we'll do probably an episode on GNAP separately. So we have also little to do, or what's coming next for the SDK. Maybe we'll have another event that gets done too. But either way, I'll share on the Slack channel the updates with the links and everything there. We were just a bit busy after the event, so we didn't get back to all the details. But it was nice to see that happening.
To be honest, the one of the things I've noticed at the hackathon was while people came to the booth and talked about open
Mm-hmm.
payments and they wanted to hack with it, the question of SDK came up fairly early in the conversation, and it informed their technology choices for the rest of the project. So there was a
Yeah,
team that came over and said, we know TypeScript and Python, we can build in either one. Which SDKs do you support? And I literally had to go say, hey, if you want the fastest, easiest integration, go for TypeScript. The Python SDK is literally being built 2 meters away that way. I don't think it's going to be ready in time for you to use it, or you're going to have to implement everything from scratch, and
yeah,
signatures. The fact that we have it so that it's secure and we're using cutting edge technology means you'll have to understand some fairly exotic stuff like signatures, and you have to sign your own request, and you'll probably spend the entire hackathon trying to figure out how signatures work and
yeah.
trying to implement that. But it did inform people's choices in how they built on open payments right now. So seeing us expand on the SDKs that we provide for people, happy to see that, but also
Mm-hmm.
seeing as how so many programming languages being out there, some of the more vanilla ones and some of the more exotic ones coming up, I know, like Zig, while we have Rust and Go and Java and .NET on our bingo card of SDKs, I think Zig is ever going to make the list and make the cut of the things we end up building right now. Even though Zig is a language that's core part of our stack, TigerBeat is built on Zig, and we use it intensely under the hood. I don't think there are enough developers in our ecosystem, or there's enough of a mass for us to be able to get to it. So if you feel strongly about your language, or if you still feel strongly about your need to have the SDK, to have open payments in your language, please do consider contributing it back into the public domain. Make it open source so that
Yeah.
we have as many open payments SDKs as we need to.
And we'll do an episode when we have a few more exactly with this, what it means to do, what are the stages of each one, because some will still have a bit of polish to do. Maybe some people want to start contributing there. So yeah, good point there with open payments SDKs. Alex, anything you want to end the call with? Anything you want to ask Max, or you want to share with us as you're going towards the end? Any
Yes,
plans for
Ariana.
the future from the partner sides? I don't even know what to ask. There are so many things still.
So I think the thing that I'm excited about is more and more the wallets are turning on open payments. Chimani has open payments now. Um, the Interledger wallet has always had open payments. GitHub is finishing not only their open payments implementation, but their webinization implementation, fingers crossed. I think one of the other exciting things that's happening out into the world, I should be able to talk about it today. But if you go online and you type in interledger.app, there's a surprise for you. The worst kept secret in the
Woo!
Interledger ecosystem. But the Finboss wallet got a new brand, got a new face, and a new loving home here at the Interledger Foundation. There's a new team jointly with Finboss working on it. And we shall have a whole new episode on this when we go live. But in the meantime, if you've had an account with Finboss, your account is going to work on the Intelligent Wallet, the new Intelligent Wallet. We are not just here, we're friends. You can get an account I would just say battery is not included at this point. We're still in the process of migrating all the under the hood accounts. If you get one in Europe right now, you're gonna be disappointed in about a couple of weeks. If you get one everyone else, it's gonna be fine. But we are working hard on providing a new wallet with new cards to a whole lot more people than we did in South Africa. And with that, I think I'm gonna end it.
Max, anything for closing? Are you coming to a next another one?
Of course, of course, this would be great.
Oh, I have so many ideas already. Because we never literally. I mean, I think it's. Let's end it with another funny note, because I think it's time to admit that the second interledger that we had with Sabine was never planned to be about Rafiki, but Alex forgot the agenda. So midway in the episode, we start talking it because it was supposed to be about the whole Interledger universe. So whenever we need to refine a bit the Rafiki episode that we have done, more than happy to discuss it again. Alex, was
Joanna,
there too much opening today?
we can do a do-over. We can do a do-over. I would like to say that today I did a way better job on sticking to the agenda, even if we only managed to cover about 40% of the agenda. But at
He
least
did, he did.
we kept it in order this time. I'm doing better. What can I tell you? I'm not born to be a podcaster. I will do better. I will learn. I promise.
But I mean, you're not podcaster. We're not doing a podcast. You're just hosting a friendly, informal chat. But we did see him talking with students in the weekend in the hackathon, and our colleague, like Eugene, was here also. And we shared some of the sessions online with our colleagues back home, helping with mentoring. I don't know if he realized, but one of his sessions was sent to our colleagues because they didn't had anyone online to mentor, so I was listening, and everybody was like, "Oh, Alex is so nice when he speaks, and we're mentoring. It's his element." So this is your element, Alex, to discuss about technology, things that we have at Interledger, and not only, and leave it. Agendas are good to anchor us, but even like he wrote me like, "Oh, we didn't get so many questions. We did shuffle a few of them. We'll continue in a new episode for sure." And we did cover the open payments demo under the hood, how it's going. And it was one of the feedback that we got from the hackathon is not clear. So we made progress today, and we'll do another episode in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a good
Thanks for
day.
joining
Yeah,
our vacation, Alex. Enjoy your
thanks.
time there. Max, see you
Yeah.
in a bit.
See you.
Take care,
Thanks.
everyone. Bye.
Bye, Joanna. Thank you for hosting us.
Bye bye.